Whoa! Holy shit! What the fuck? Are you fucking serious? Is this actually a thing? When you were a small child playing Pokemon and Tekken, would you have pictured yourself saying, hey, what if there was a Tekken game, but with Pokemon? Boom, here it is. You can buy that shit right now. It is so fucking good. Alright, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Pokken Tournament is the result of a collaboration between the Pokemon Company and Bandai Namco, which originally started off as a Pokemon spin-off of the Taiko Drum Master series. I actually wouldn't have minded that. You know how I am on music rhythm games. Oi, don't! I actually wouldn't have minded that. You know how I am on music rhythm games, just look at this stupid video. But the fact that we finally have a Pokemon fighting game is simply amazing to me. And thankfully, it's not just all talk and no game. Pokken plays extremely well. The controls are simple. Y, X, and A to attack, B to jump, L to summon a support Pokemon, R to shield, Y and B to grab, X and A to counter, and L and R to do your big bombastic special synergy gauge thing. Done, that's it. It might sound simple, but that's because it is. It's trying to appeal to a wider audience, an audience that hasn't played fighting games before, and this is something it does pretty well, but it hasn't forgotten about its more hardcore players, so what looks like an overly simplified fighting game is actually a game with a very high skill ceiling. That is to say, it's deep. There's a bunch of new mechanics that help it stand out amongst other fighting games. I mean, apart from the fact that there's a karate chicken fighting a chandelier. For a start, there are two phases, which you switch in and out of throughout the match. Field phase and duel phase. Duel phase is your standard brawler, as you see here, something along the lines of Tekken or Street Fighter. Field phase, on the other hand, plays more like something along the lines of Super Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Brothers Deluxe HD Edition and Knuckles. Or something. You can run around freely in the battlefield, and you fire off projectiles at each other or attempt to get in close. When you land a specific kind of attack or do enough damage, you switch phases. There's also the synergy gauge. Fill this Technicolor bad boy up and smash the L and R buttons to power up or Mega Evolve for a brief period. During this time, you can press L and R again to unleash a powerful attack, or just dish out a whole bunch of damage with standard attacks. The other big mechanic is support Pokemon. Before a match, you pick a set of 2 support Pokemon, and you call them in during a match by pressing L. They basically deal damage to your opponent, disrupt them, or heal or grant stat buffs to yourself. Trying out different combinations of main and support Pokemon and then powering through a fight by the skin of your teeth is exhilarating, and despite the limited roster, it never gets old. Though, yes, let's address the Dun fan in the room. Get it? 'Cause he's an elephant? There's only 16 playable characters, 14 technically, considering Pikachu and Mewtwo have alternate variations in the forms of Pikachu Libre and Shadow Mewtwo, though while they have their own unique movesets, they're still kind of clones in essence. Now, 16 characters in a fighting game isn't too bad. Street Fighter V started with 16, Smash Brothers had 12, and Skullgirls only has like 10 or something. But when your source material is Pokemon, a franchise that prides itself in having a massive selection of 720 different creatures, 16 just feels like a mega kick in the nuts. Get it? Because Mega Kick's a Okay, I'll stop. I think a lot of people wouldn't be complaining if Chandelure wasn't picked over Pokemon like Hitmonchan and Greninja. And honestly, when you've got all these human-sized Pokemon slapping each other to death, Pikachu just looks out of place. Some smaller Pokemon would have been appreciated, but on the other hand, having such a small number of fighters is a blessing in disguise. Each of these fighters is extremely well balanced, with perhaps only a few minor little things that need tweaking, such as Shadow Mewtwo and Pikachu Libre, because they are totally OP, yo. But the one thing about the roster I've found so far is that even after playing all of them for a couple of matches at least, there isn't a single one that I hate playing as. I feel like Lucario might be my least favourite because he's the most basic of the bunch, but even then he's still super fun to play as. This is probably because moves are super easy to pull off. Most moves are done by pressing a button and a directional input at the same time, and that's it. No quarter circles or anything like that. On top of that, every move feels like it does something. You know in Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct where the majority of moves just boil down to variations of punches and kicks? You know, press A and politely nudge your opponent to death? Well, in Pokken Tournament, press A to leap into the air and shower your foe with seeds, or spew flames at your enemy, or suplex a fucking dragon! Can Johnny Cage do that, huh? Fucking what? By the way, Mortal Kombat X is actually really cool. And the nut punching thing is fucking rad. Take that, idiot! What I'm trying to say is, while Pokken's combatants have a slightly more limited moveset compared to other brawlers, every single attack has a use. Every attack does something meaningful and impactful, and it leads to the game having this extremely satisfying weight to its combat. It's visually spectacular, mechanically satisfying, and overall just really fun and exciting to play no matter what level of skill you're on. I'm not shitting on other fighting games, far from it. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is still one of my favourite fighting games out there. It's just that Pokemon makes it so easy to pull off moves that you can focus on where and when to use them, and I just really love that. I very quickly decided my main would be I very quickly decided my main would be Sceptile, as he has some great physical moves coupled with some intense spacing options. Other than Sceptile, I also tend to fall back on Chandelure, though I try not to use his spammy beam attack too much because it is a bit cheap, Pikachu for just being a great all-around fighter with a really cool burst attack, and Weavile for having that super kawaii overbite. I would hide my boner, but I'm not on camera. Oh, and let's not forget Pikachu Libre. Fucking prick. That's probably enough of me gushing about the gameplay. Let's take a look at what else Pokken has to offer. Unfortunately, as is the trend with some fighting games these days, Pokken is a little lackluster in its modes. There's single player and multiplayer, online battles, practice mode which offers tutorials and whatnot, and the Ferrum League, which is the game's arcade/story mode. There is a metric shit ton of customization options for you to unlock and buy, which is rad, and you can also unlock more support Pokemon and eventually the 2 Mewtwo variants. But overall this isn't the meatiest game in the world, which does suck a little because in Australia at least it's $10 more expensive than other Wii U games. The only other game that did that down under was Xenoblade Chronicles X, and that's at least somewhat justified considering how big the game is. The Ferrum League serves as the main story mode. Here you'll partake in battles and tournaments, and earn the right to participate in the promotion test to rank up, eventually making it to the Chroma League. There's little story bits sprinkled here and there, which I won't spoil, but overall, it's serviceable. I mean, stories in fighting games are rarely any good. The best ones I can think of are Blaze Blue and Persona 4 Arena, and even then, those are more expository visual novels than actual fighting. While in the Ferrum League, and I guess pretty much everywhere else in the game, you'll be accompanied by Weavile cosplayer Nia, who means well, but wow is she irritating. It's a combination of how often she pops up and how annoyingly high-pitched her voice is, coupled with occasionally terrible bits of dialogue.
I wonder what your opponent has in store today.
Can you speak like a normal lady? You don't even speak like a normal anime character.
Congrats! Must have been all that advice I gave you, huh?
Don't you dare take credit for my success!
Just remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the battle.
This is not the time for fun! She shows up everywhere, in the main menu, online, even during battles.
My hearing seems to have
Shut
worked.
up already! You've ruined Weavile for me, and she's not even the only voice you'll hear. Did you know 50 Cent is in this game?
This is your first promotion test. But you don't look all that worried. If you can defeat me, I'll let you move up into C rank. Show me what you can do.
This is probably my favorite cutscene. Afterwards I had to stop for a second just to catch my breath.
Wowsers! You might be even stronger than me now. How about... What? Where's all the synergy power going?
Was that power I just felt coming from Mewtwo? It wasn't exactly the same as before.
Mewtwo? Is that stone sucking up all the synergy power?
I'm sorry, but...
Brace yourself!
Remember how I mentioned Guitar Hero Live's acting was corny beyond belief? This is worse. This is 1,000 times worse. Guitar Hero is a kernel of corn that came from Pokken's cornfield. Imagine other games dubbed with this kind of voice acting. If you can beat me in less than 10 minutes, you'll be able to escape in time. Let's make this the greatest 10 minutes of our lives, Jack! Boss! You're a soldier! Finish your mission! Prove your loyalty! I'll give it my all, boss! The most important thing is to... Am I missing something? Oh yeah, online battles. When you boot up online mode for the first time, Nia informs you that disconnecting during a match will penalize you by taking away some of your hard-earned money. This is actually not a bad way to go about this, so you won't want to drop out of online matches, especially considering how expensive some of these cosmetic items are. Yep, this is a Tekken game, alright. But online mode works surprisingly well. I didn't have high hopes after Smash Bros. Wii U, in which I had noticeable input lag in almost every match. But playing online in Pokken Tournament, though I did notice input lag, it was only because I noticed that stuff really easily. Input lag is tiny, minuscule, almost non-existent. And that never changed, even after I'd played around 15 matches in a row. On top of that, it took me the best part of 6 seconds to find a match. I don't often play online in video games, but I'll definitely be returning to Pokken if I feel like getting my ass beat by some bastard in Louisiana. Graphics are great as well, I suppose. I'm not one to be very impressed by graphics, but they did a pretty good job. They went for a more realistic approach this time around, which works well, though Sceptile kinda looks like he's been dumped in lube, and for some reason Frisbee Dog's mouth looks like it's been drawn on with a Sharpie, but otherwise it's very nice. And finally, local multiplayer mode. If you like 60 FPS, then you might want to look elsewhere. Because of the unique perspective in matches, one player has to play using the gamepad, while the other uses another controller. Because of this, multiplayer only runs at 30 FPS. It still plays just fine, of course, course, but I'm sure someone's gonna get mad about it. I don't care personally. I'm one of those people who think some things actually look better at lower frame rates. For example, Forza Horizon 2 and the Ratchet and Clank reboot. However, Pokemon is not one of those instances. 30 FPS is fine, but it really needs to be played at 60 FPS for the best experience. Local battles are where the Pokken controller comes into play. This thing only works with Pokken, and of course, because one player has to use the gamepad in multiplayer, only one of these controllers can be used. Don't buy 2 of these. I didn't even get one because I'm poor enough as it is, but apparently it's very responsive and comfortable. And as a bonus, you can apparently plug it into a PC and play games with it just fine. It could work well with emulation, if you pick up what I'm putting down. Damn it, Jimmican! Overall, despite a general lack of content, which is just an unfortunate trend in games recently, Pokken Tournament is fantastic. It's almost exactly what I would have wanted in a Pokemon fighting game, save for more characters. Battles are flashy and mechanically sound, there's tons of stuff to unlock, and online battles are damn near perfect. Unfortunately, if you are looking to get into Pokken anytime soon, bear in mind this. The game as you see it is likely the extent of how much the devs are willing to support it. There aren't any plans for DLC at the moment, and while Nintendo said the same thing about Smash Brothers, and look how that turned out, Pokken getting DLC, though not impossible, seems pretty unlikely. But know that even without possible major updates, Pokken Tournament at its release is tight. A lack of content doesn't disrupt the fact that Pokken just plays so damn well. But why are you still sitting here watching this? I already told you, you can watch a small mouse suplex a fucking dragon! Hey, thanks for watching. I'm still reeling over the fact that we can finally play a Pokemon fighting game. But what do you guys reckon? And for those who have it, who's your favourite fighter so far? I'd say mine's Sceptile, but I've been told that he's a noob Pokemon for beginners, so I guess I'm not allowed to like him then? Whatever. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you hate my guts, and subscribe if you actually look forward to these things. Oh, and thank you so much for
600
subs. Over
600
subs now, I think. I hate saying that. I sound like a child. But really, I'm pretty gosh darn grateful. I guess I kinda missed the boat on 100 sub special, so I'll probably wait till
1000
subs. Also, for those who came to this video expecting a sin counter in the top left corner, sorry to disappoint you, but this is a review channel. There are other channels out there that do the gaming sins thing way better than I do. Plus, I don't know if CinemaSins like people ripping off their format, and I don't want to get on their bad side. Still gonna do Ratchet and Clank though. Hey, Jeremy, if you're listening, you wanna hang out? I'll show you a good time. And you'll get all the lap dances you could ever want. Fuck.